Socialist versus socialism debate.
Capitalism is a more realistic system of governance than like
It's
communism
true.
is, you know.
Oh no. You understand what Hasan is saying here, right? Let me do the Destiny translation. How insane to say that about a guy that you co-host a social political podcast with. What a weird thing to say.
You guys are all like radical communists. There's that many. You're essentially advocating to change the entire structure of all societies today on Earth. That's not
Actually
radical.
Because the United States
exposing, I guess.
isn't the whole world, dude. I'm just gonna speak on the United States because that's my experience and what I've done around.
Do you see how quickly we went from America's not the only place in the world, dude? Have you ever heard of a little place called Europe? Notice how quickly we switched up when we realized that one, there was a Swede here, and two, we couldn't name a single
He actually pivoting.
European country that backed what we were going to say.
Businesses aren't government.
True. How does he, bro? He is like the drunken master. If we're doing profit sharing, are we going to do loss sharing? So last year, the company made $1 million. We've got 100,000 employees. All of you get a $10 bonus or some shit or whatever, right? Well, this year we lost $100,000. We're docking your paychecks.
The sense it's like, what if you don't have a profitable year? Then the employees make less?
Oh,
I'm having a fever dream.
these idiots.
You're not getting bullied. You're picking a fight, then losing that fight. You are not a victim, and you are not marginalized. You are the face and voice of hundreds of years of white colonial privilege, and you know exactly what you're doing when you eat that ignorant mess around here. So stay out of the kitchen if you can't stand the heat. And next time you wanna talk, take several seats and listen, and you might be okay.
The whole music.
This guy is the guy that started the whole avocado toast thing.
How do
Same
you?
dude.
Hold on.
Wait, did he
Why
really?
Claim
that?
that.
Huh?
How do you claim that? That's like claiming breed.
No, I'm sorry. He didn't say that he invented avocado toast. You remember there was a controversy, the whole meme of like, well, millennials should
Oh, that
stop
was
buying.
him.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
started
see.
that whole.
Stop with all the avocado toast. Oh,
Yeah.
you really
No,
hate
This is what I'm
God.
saying. Look, here he is.
Oh, wow.
wow.
Wait, full screen that. Full screen
That's
that.
crazy.
Oh,
We are coming into a new reality where first home buyers, second home buyers, and a lot of people won't own a house in their lifetime. That is just the reality where we're going. So you think that young people have now got the prospect of never owning a home? Absolutely, when you're spending $40 a day on smashed avocado and coffee, you're not working, are you? Of course.
Oh, that was it, I guess. Yeah. Spending all your money on smashed avocado.
A day on smashed avocado and coffee, you're not working, are you? Of course.
Dude, you
Wait, this guy, hold on. I'm sorry. Is this guy a troll? Now I'm kind of wondering if, is that guy like a memer or something? Or like when I say troll, what I mean is he like part of an org or something and he like tries to farm outrage? Millennials stop avocado toast. In Australia of late 2016, consumption of avocado smashed on toast became a target of criticism at Collins Bernard Salt in the Australian article how young people order smashed avocado with crumbled wheat and 5 grain toasted bread at $20 a pop and more, arguing they should be saved and buy a house instead. Salt later said that this piece was intended to humorously satirize the conservative attitudes of baby boomers. Millennials counted they fell asleep to utilities in their house like housing. The Sydney Morning Herald calculated that a person saving $66 a week on brunch, while property prices continue to rise year after year, only to afford a 10% house deposit in Hobart with all other capital cities being affordable. Furthermore, cafes were said to become the primary space for millennials to get their friends. Maybe controversy, several cafes offered discount versions of smashed avocado. Tim Garner, a 35-year-old Australian property developer, said in May 2017, millennials should not be buying smashed avocado. If water lattes and home ownership, in response to this, the savings of going avocado toast would be estimated £500 euros annually, and at this rate, they were 500 years to house. His statements just sound like so hyperbolically crazy that.
Fuck, this guy sucks.
He really sucks.
I'm also seeing that he is one of these weirdos that wants to be immortal.
Oh god, that's another dude I haven't talked about, the immortal.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm obsessed with him.
This guy's saying he gets receives magnesium infusion as well-being established.
Bro, you literally look like you're doing a demonic ritual.
Please advise on gambling is trash. I find the idea of anything could happen exciting even won a few times, but I keep returning to the potential rather than the actual winning thoughts. I don't have the mind of a gambler, and I doubt anything I'm going to say. Like, if I could solve gambling for you right now, I would just go and make like $1 billion with my market. Absolutely. Like, I can't solve gambling. I'm so sorry. This is my point of view. This is like
Gambling
my
thing.
point of view for how I view gambling mathematically, for why I have no interest in it. Fuck. How could I show this on a graph? Like, I don't. It's the problem I'm going to show it on a graph, but you either understand it or you don't. Like, every single time you make a bet,
Into it.
you like the variance for your bet is like you can either do like really well, you can either do we'll say really well or really poorly. This graph isn't gonna make any sense. What I would say is that like over time, if this is like all the possible outcomes of betting, over time as you bet more and more and more and more and more, you bet more and more and more and more, you might start off really bad. Oh, you can't see. You might start off really bad. You might end up doing really well. But what ultimately happens is the more you bet, the more the variance decreases, because
How about the max win the
higher amount of repetitions means lower volatility. Assuming the odds aren't changing, I don't know if that means anything to you guys. You're asymptotically approaching like a losing number here every single time you. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain it. When I put $1 into a slot machine, I imagine that I'm losing 99 cents, and that's every single interaction I have with every single house game. That's what it is. Yeah, that's just what it is. It can be disguised with different types of reward schemes, different types of payback schemes, different types of jackpots. But at the end of the day, every single time you play roulette, you play blackjack, you play a slot, you are being funneled into this mathematical scheme where you are asymptotically approaching a negative return. That's all you're doing. Like that's every single thing. Now, in my mind, it's very, 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 very hard for me to get excited about this funnel that is inescapable because this funnel you cannot escape from without cheating at certain games. That's it. So, yeah, I don't know. So like over a long period of time, like a gambler might start here, he might get really lucky early on, and then he might, like lose a bit, and he might like win some back, and he might lose some, and then win a little bit of that back, and lose. But invariably, asymptotically, some guy might start off really bad, win a little bit, kind of go bad, win a bit, and even go positive a little bit, and then lose.
How about 10%
And then win. And asymptotically, every single gambler. Maybe you start here. It's probably most people. You win a little, you lose a little. Every single gambler
then he win like max win and then started getting
is
this.
asymptotically approaching the sign. Asymptote meaning it's a value that is approaching a value that it'll never actually perfectly touch.
It's 1%.
Because
So
you could theoretically hit the perfect 49.51 returns. But yeah, you're always approaching a certain value here of negative return. So that's how I do it, and that's why I think it's boring. But I mean, if you enjoy being funneled into stupid math schemes that make you lose money in the long run, then I don't know if I could ever talk about it. No. Oh my god. Okay. Don't link me in reviews. Mozzarella sticks are loaded potato skins. If you're at a new restaurant and you don't know anything about them, mozzarella sticks are the better choice because mozzarella sticks are not a big gamble. They're really hard to fuck up. It's cheese with breading and you put it in the fryer. Okay. Loaded potato skins are a gamble because really good loaded potato skins can be way better than mozzarella sticks. But you could also get really shit loaded potato skins where it's like burnt, it's too thin, it's just the toppings are it could be really bad. So I would say if you don't know the restaurant, mozzarella sticks. But if you're gonna get something really good and you know it's a good place, loaded potato skins. That's what I would say.
I can say from our experience that it's completely wrong. It's not the case. About like productivity going down because of COVID and people not wanting to work and all this stuff is wrong. People just don't
Well,
want to
if your
work.
business model is reliant on exploiting workers, then it is going to affect your bottom line.
Yeah.
If you're McDonald's, if you're Walmart, if you're,
I mean, in a way, we've learned that a business can be more accommodating to people and still work. Like today, some people might come for an interview and they'll ask for I forget what's the word, but like a position where they can work
Hybrid.
twice a week in the office and then work from home the rest of the week. Stuff like that, where I think it was educational for everybody on both sides. And
what are you trying to say, Dan?
His forehead is huge.
Yeah, dude.
It's like
Summer 17th, thanks for summer.
crazy,
It's a
right?
weird hairline, but
And like,
That
if you
haircut
follow like where
is
his head actually, like the head is massive.
A lot of real estate.
That's a
Awesome.
business.
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I have to. Okay, 'cause sometimes I said 50% of my food takes are meme. 45% of my food takes are. I have an opinion, and I understand there's probably not wrong. 5% of my food takes that I give are just they're correct, and if you disagree, you're wrong. Okay. Somebody said I've never been disappointed with potato skins, and mozzarella sticks are always sad, even with sauce. Okay. Number one, there are absolutely horrible potato skins out there. Okay. People sometimes you get ones that are too thin. They get burned horribly. The skin is like peeling off the potato in the worst way. The toppings aren't evenly distributed on the potato. There'll be like a hunk of cheese on one side. There are absolutely horrible potato skins. Okay. That is not true. That they're always of a consistent quality. Fried stuff
it doesn't begin put
tends to be
tax.
about as good as any other fried thing because all it is dumping something in a fryer and taking it out, right? Like, I've been to $250 plate restaurants, okay, and I've had really good, like beer dipped, flawlessly crafted onion rings, okay, amazing. I've had really good onion rings, okay, and I've had onion rings at Applebee's. Both of them are pretty good. The really expensive one is better, but not that much better. At the end of the day, it's all onion rings. It's good, but it's not like blowing my mind. It's not gonna be the same difference as it would be between like a high quality and a low quality cut of steak, right? Yeah, I think that if you're talking about like simple fried things, I'm not talking about fried chicken, just like simple fried things, generally there's not gonna be massive differences in quality. Try to
I guess
I mean-
maybe we should listen. He's probably pretty smart with that. I think, right?
That five head.
that's so sick.
Which is
That
pretty
is
hollow.
But like, I fundamentally disagree with his theory that we must exploit workers for. It's like, dude, when workers
like if
make
anything,
more.
French fries are pretty variable quality. I agree that French fries are variable quality. I'm sorry, I'm screen chat. I agree that French fries are variable quality, but the issue is that I don't know why, but restaurants just fully choose whether or not they want to have dog French fries or not. And a lot of restaurants just choose to have dog French fries. If you have if you got like thick cut French fries and you don't season them at all, I don't know why the American people tolerate this. Like I've been to random fast food places that put like garlic and salt and everything on their fries. Like this is amazing. And they're like $2 fries. And then I've been to like really nice steakhouses that will have like they'll serve French fries and they're just like normal thick cut fries that do nothing. I'm like, why am I paying $15 for this set of fries? And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's really wacky.
Maybe people want
money and are
different
better off.
things.
Oh, true. Be careful for that. Be careful for that one. I don't know why, but that's triggering a response to me. When somebody in chat just typed in steak fries, I feel like anytime I see steak fries, I don't know why. I don't even know if that refers to a particular type of fry. But when I see something that says steak fries, I feel like I'm gonna get a hunk of potato with nothing special, no seasoning, no anything good on it. It's just gonna be dog shit. That's the feeling. I could be. Maybe I've only been in certain places, but oh god.
And have healthcare and have
Right.
access to shelter, affordable shelter and food. Guess what? Society is more stable and going to have more longevity for everybody. When your philosophy is let's exploit every single worker to the max, it's only a matter of time before your head ends on a pike, brother. And it is coming someday. If you keep doing this, you will die.
True.
You know, I know that I'm capitalist,
Die.
and so I've been trying to think like, how do you square that
Oh no.
with my other like socialist?
Oh, shit, that's what he's saying.
And
Oh, that's
I
what set
think
this all off.
there is. I think that if there isn't, there should be a thing, and it's a little bit of oxymoron. It sounds silly, but I do think it's a real. It can be and is a real thing. Benevolent capitalism.
Oh no.
Does that sound silly?
It's called being a
Hot take: 90% of people require that they can work from home just don't want to work. People inevitably do way less when they work at home. Ethan says cost nothing, LeMayo. It costs paying them. I mean, like you're half true when you say that, but like the reason why I think a lot of people want to work from home, it's not that they don't want to work. It's that they don't want to have to go to the office and look like they're fake working when they don't need to be there for as long as they are. Right? I feel like the issue that we have. Is we have a really hard time being honest about how much labor is required to do certain things. And I feel like we're stuck a little bit in the past. We're really attached to this irrational idea that real work is 40 to 45 hours a week. And if you're not doing that, then something is broken. Like if we were to scramble everybody's brain and get rid of this notion that every single worker needs to be working 40 hours a week because that's just like a full-time employment, I feel like we would radically change how we approach a lot of white collar, especially software engineering jobs. Actually, software, not just that, but a lot of in-office work in general. I think it would be a healthier environment. You just pay workers based on their output. You know, like how much you can do the company we work, probably about what the salaries are now. But then we don't have to all live in this weird. Because it's funny, because it feels like we all live in this weird delusional world where we all pretend that like it takes me 40 hours a week to do this job, when the reality is for a lot of programmers and shit, it's like less than 20, if that. With some weeks being harder than others. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this unhealthy delusion that we've collectively bought into is like a result of just kind of like the archaic labor practices of old.
Yeah, work less and work smart, I mean. It's better for everyone.
Jesus. But
social democrat.
So okay. So what I think is like, if you like the idea of capitalism, then you need to also accept the inevitable downsides.
Listen, there are certain things that are good, but to acknowledge those good things, or to collect rents from those good things, right, to benefit from those things, we have to acknowledge the drawbacks as well, and we need to counteract that, right? It feels like that's what he's about to say.
Like, if how you live is dependent on you working, right, then you need to guarantee people jobs. It doesn't make sense. So, because without that, then you're basically saying, yeah, just as a consequence of this, some people are going to be homeless and destitute. And so, that's unacceptable, right? I mean, that's psycho. I just accept that as a fact of life. And so, like, I think the government should have guaranteed jobs for people that want to work.
The econ lives on Twitter have same takes as you for most of the time. I mean, like, yeah, obviously it's the standard econ take, but the problem is there are no, like, econ lives just aren't very popular. On the internet, it's all far right and far left. And the general trend for content creators, I think, is a populist one, which is relatively anti-capitalist. I don't think Trump's fans are big fans of capitalism. I don't think, obviously, far left people aren't fans of capitalism. Like,
you know, that pay enough for the minimum amount needed to have shelter and food. I think shelter should be guaranteed.
Destiny, as a small business owner, having employees in the office is important. If something happens out of the ordinary, the ability to more easily talk to my employees makes everything easy. I can agree with you that there are benefits to being in office, but I think that employers have kind of lost trust, or I think employees have lost trust in employers because so much of like meeting time and stuff is just a massive waste of time that they would have been better off not being involved at all.
That's true.
What do you mean by Trumpers are not capitalists? The newest era of the newest era of like populist Trumples don't have a strong attachment to capitalism. They might say capitalism, but like neocons, I think were very much like Bush era conservatives were very much like, you know, low taxation, big business, chill on immigration. Like they say they didn't like it, they wouldn't do anything but except like the cheap labor, support like American enterprise and all that shit, and blah blah blah, trade with other countries. Like the new era of Trumple is, I would say, pretty I don't know if I say anti-capitalist, but they're not avowedly capitalist. Like hyper protectionist trade and labor policies, generally always shitting on our large businesses and everything. Like it started with the Tea Party, which was populist/anti-establishment, was radicalized against big business by the bank bailouts, possibly. Yeah.
I think food should be guaranteed because, again, we want the capitalist society and all the good things that benefits us. I do like the system of capitalism. I think it's good. But so we want all the good things, but at the same time, it does, if it's unchecked, it makes society, the distribution of wealth and like the stability of society goes totally off keel. And if you need a job to provide food and shelter, then again, that's the capitalism, right? So you have to guarantee those things. So I think work, food, and shelter should be guaranteed rights of people living in capitalism.
And education.
What was the last book you read that really opened your mind or enlightened you in some way? Bro, I don't know.
And healthcare.
The Bible.
Right, and
Jesus
healthcare
Christ.
should be too, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are even like the three most basic, but actually, yeah, healthcare, you know, should be. And
As
education.
an SE, I feel there's more innovation on the product by being in close proximity with coworkers, but as I grow in seniority, more people need me. It's extremely hard being in office to stop me from working every 15 minutes. Sure, and there are, I've heard both sides of this. It probably depends a bit on what your job is, and it's why I think personally, I don't have a software engineering job. Probably mixed model, work from home and work in office things are probably preferable because there is, I'm guessing, based on what I've heard, if you're in a giant office environment and you need help from somebody or some collaborative effort would improve a project, being in office is probably going to increase the likelihood of you engaging with other employees versus having to like fire off an email or some shit. Like I bet that there's a lot of productivity gains and a lot of collaborative things that happen if I can just like walk down the hallway and shout at
And there are a lot more social things in the office, right?
do that's like working on some other product or on some other project and like asking questions. My guess would be that's like hybrid models are okay, but like 5 days a week, every single week, all the time, well, like I don't know if I'm not sure. Any news in the venture debate? Oh, still waiting on everybody.
Education should be too, you're right. Like, and it makes sense to me because you want to exist in this world where it's all about money, it's all about market forces and all this shit. You can't just regulate on the top; you have to regulate on the bottom too.
I sort of agree, but doesn't teams do the same thing? I'm gonna do the same cringe thing I do with like relationships, where I say sometimes whether or not I get along with somebody or love somebody is a lot of it is just chemistry. And I don't know how to explain that. I would say something similar for working alongside people versus like teams. I feel like there is a different energy to collaborating next to a living human, breathing person versus like trying to like poke somebody in a Slack channel or getting somebody on a Zoom call. Just a feeling I have. I might be an in real life elitist or something, or maybe, but that's just a feeling I have.
Control for the outcome.
But you are everything you just described is almost social democrat to a T. I mean, this is what think like
Don't say son.
FDR Democrat.
I love his bill of
Democrats,
Bill of Rights.
Yeah, Democrats pre like 1970s is everything that you're describing.
Dude,
at least ideologically. They
second
don't
bill-
live up to all those things, but that was the kind of.
You think you might have been slightly brainwashed by your audience into believing you're an actual genius? If I would ever be brainwashed into thinking I'm a genius, it would be because how stupid the people like debate are, not because my audience fighting on food takes all the time.
Genius.
Wisdom at the time.
The second Bill of Rights would have been the greatest thing that happened to this country, man. That's crazy. Ethan, describe one good thing about capitalism.
You completely ignore all the drama that happens to people in person too. Affairs and bowling is much more common when in person. So while that might be true, and I don't have like real, like my limit to even corporate experience is just like trading emails and sometimes having meetings or meeting with like VPs on like food and beverage or other restaurants and casinos. So I don't have that side of the experience. I also don't have white collar work experience because I work in the diner as well. But I would say, and also this just might be me being socially wired or whatever. The drama and all that shit is like one of the few things that makes work interesting and fun. I want there to be drama. I want there to be relationship issues. I want two coworkers to be f***ing get found out. I want the manager to be trouble because that shit is fun. It makes work interesting and fun. I want
You know, doesn't want
to
drama.
have that kind of shit. Now, obviously, sometimes it's not fun. If the drama involves you, it's not fun, and it can become overwhelming. Like overly dramatic work environments are dog shit. But again, I don't know the times in white collar environments. Sometimes it's nice to have the guys from security come on over and chat. It's like, hey, what's up? How's Chad doing? Is he still dating the one chick? Blah 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 blah. Or you know, host from the floor, cocktail servers. People like, hey, I heard that John got in a huge fight with whatever. What happened? I heard something got written up. What's going on? Like, I don't know. That shit I think kind of is fun. It adds to work sometimes. But that's my shit. If the jobs I worked had no drama whatsoever, and you were just like coming in and doing it feel a little bit robotic to me. But I can totally understand. No, I can't understand. I don't know why I was about to say that. I don't know. Bold-faced lie. Because I totally understand people that just want to get their work done and leave. I can't understand. I feel like all that other shit is exciting and funny. But I also wonder how much. Yeah, I wonder how much is like generational and everything too, though. Because I think my generation was wired for a lot more in-person interaction than a lot of like Zoomers are.
First of all, I think it's like the natural inclination of some people. Like, I don't think it's even realistic to say I want to live in like a perfect communistic society, because that just doesn't work. It's antithetical to human nature.
Not to self-report, but do you think that a majority of white-collar jobs just don't need to work a full 40 hours a week to be successful? Yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier. Yeah.
But I do think there are good things of capitalism provides, which is I do think there's a sense of innovation that happens when people are motivated by money and pushed to do certain ideas and to invest in certain ideas that like the government isn't doing.
Yep.
Base
pay.
I do certain ideas
Yes, sir.
and to invest in certain ideas that like the government isn't doing. I don't hate the idea of like people who can be successful.
Oh my God.
I think it's good that people can achieve.
You're thinking of post-capitalism. Such a dumb take. Hasan, help us. Capitalism is bad unless you're Jeff Bezos.
Looking at Sam.
Capitalism is the boss says pay distribution. Hasan pulling Ethan left slowly, so America brained. I wonder where this guy lives where he thinks he doesn't live under capitalism.
You've success in the term monetary success. I mean, that's what that means, right? I do.
I think my job guarantees. I think federal jobs guarantees. I think they're generally shit. But I don't. I obviously like the policy written up for the implementation to know if I really am opposed or agree.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's good. I think it's good. Right. It encourages efficient production, right? I mean, if there's a money incentive, like if everything was owned by the government, it would remove a lot of efficiency, perhaps, when people aren't motivated by money and stuff. But this is all silly. Again, it all sounds very vapid, and when you describe it, because capitalism is inherently, it seems like, based on hedonism, right? It doesn't come from like an altruistic place. So that's why the important part is to make sure that there is altruism and humanity that is kept in this, rat race, which is capitalism. That's it. The second Bill of Rights FDR tried to pass, and he was close to, man. The right of every family to a decent home, the right to adequate medical care, and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health, the right to adequate protection from economic fears of old age, sickness.
These one thing that I like about the American Constitution, and that I don't like Scalia. He called these parchment guarantees, right? And the little speech we listened to in front of Congress. I don't remember what he was giving testimony for, but like having like a second Bill of Rights thing where you like outline these things that are fucking vague and vacuous is not good, because then we're gonna start getting like, we put we got the 79th Amendment guarantees you to be a happy person. And it's like, okay, but like what? I don't know. I think it's kind of meh. I prefer having
Yes, way too bad.
like more clearly defined. I think is better than that. Is the guarantee to shelter vague though? Yeah. What does that mean? Like if you're in a homeless facility, is that shelter? Like, is this the same girl who called into Britney's stream? Wait, hold on.
But I think I told them that like you're who people come to if they want like just a blunt like wake-up call.
Oh shit! Wait, is it? Oh, never mind. Okay, what I was about to say.
Okay,
Another.
what about the
Oh, Ethan has
name?
made 2 Instagram posts now over his over the pushback he's getting. Except the employee is risking his job and the employer is risking nothing. You could tell Dan was biting his tongue the whole time. Yes, as all fans know, I rarely fire crew that disagree with me. I do. August. This is word for word Hasan take. He says this all the time. Nice.
Accident, unemployment, the right to a good education. He was going to draft the second Bill of Rights, and it was close. It was really close to passing. He was on some king shit, wasn't he? Oh. There you go. I don't know what you want from me. I think that capitalism is a more realistic system of governance than like communism is.
Oh no, and based.
It never works because people are inherently corrupt, and whoever.
Now this is. I don't like these takes. I understand why people do them.
Here comes the best take.
Because simplicity is sexy, okay? We want like very simple takes on things. Capitalism works because humans are greedy. Communism doesn't work because humans are greedy. And yeah, we just can't share. And like, no, communism doesn't work because command economies are bullshit. Because the calculation problem is probably insurmountable. Because not letting markets like freely allocate capital or set prices or control markets using supply and demand. Like these are way more efficient mechanisms to accurately determine prices and inputs and outputs. Like there are good reasons why capitalism works. There are really good reasons why communism will never work. Absent like some master computer that can control all of society. It's not. I understand people like to say, but it's not really about human nature makes it so communism and capitalism doesn't work. Hey, J-Trip, Black, thanks for taking steps. It's just there's just like communism and socialism are just shitty ways of structuring economies. Like full stop. They just suck. It's shit. And capitalism is a really good way to efficiently allocate capital to things that make money. That's all it does.
Whoever's in charge is they're gonna be greedy, they're gonna be corrupt, they're gonna fuck everything up. It doesn't make sense to me that system could work where everybody just acts in good faith and does the right thing. So as long as there's no like mega losers in capitalism, if that's something we can regulate, then I do believe that it can be a benevolent thing. Yeah, capitalism breeds greed, exactly. And they say greed is good, and there is some truth to that in measure, right? It's an inherent quality of man, and it can sometimes drive innovation, efficiency, all this kinds of stuff. You think that because you benefit from it, Ethan? Obviously.
You all do.
Yeah.
That.
Yes.
Well, his opinion is obviously going to be his opinion based on his experience.
But I feel like that's always been my opinion, frankly. So
This was the other story. Please do not take these political conversations so personally. Being called a class traitor 1,000 times because I'm only a social democrat and not a full socialist makes me not want to have convos like this anymore, which is probably the least productive outcome. Damn. Why do we set up a credit system where each factory is given credits for how efficient they are, and the factory then gives the workers credits for their efficiency? Wait, you're joking, right? I think.
I'm just saying the fact that it benefits you is obvious that it's going to affect your opinion. It is your opinion.
it just seems like this fucking like socialist, communist idea that people want is like just a pipe dream.
Uh-oh. What is this? A piece of love.
Okay.
100% right.
This time music.
Wait, was this posted on the H3H3 subreddit?
ดิฉันเบ็ด
Jesus, do they use this with peace and love often? Okay, I don't know if that was actually on the server or not.
What is the idea that people want? I'm kind of curious because I see so many people in the chat saying no.
I don't know what y'all are tripping about. Like, what the fuck?
What is the idea that
You guys,
people
like,
are looking for to hear?
I actually don't know.
Uh-oh.
Like, it's almost like weird virtue signaling to be like, I'm living in modern day America, but I want a full communist revolution. I don't know what the fuck.
Oh, it was this. Oh, August, I sent a review. Fuck, August, you didn't tell me. Or remind me. I told you to remind me. I just remembered. Oh, it was this. Oh, well, how lucky are we, huh? Never mind. The thread got deleted. I was more so on Dan's side as well, but people really taking this way too personally in this video. It's hella cringe. There are people who take this kind of conversation personally because the consequences of these debates and this type of thinking personally affects them in their everyday lives. It's a privilege to be able to talk about politics and not be personally affected by what you're. How do you, 19? I bet this person is 19 years old. Can we find the age of these posters?
Okay. Go on, reading essay.
Wait, hold on. There's one more thing. What is this? 28 minutes ago. Did this just happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if we ran companies that way? Because companies aren't democracies. They're totalitarian.
So how do you run a company?
What? A company cannot be totalitarian. Where did he get that argument from? Companies aren't governments. Like that's like I mean like you could like as a joke you could analyze things that way. Well, not really as a joke, but maybe it's kind of like an interesting maybe it's an interesting thought experiment. You could run it that way, but like it's not very meaningful, right? Like, do you think that democracy is the best form of government? I truly do believe democracy is really interesting because you've got a child and notice you don't let him vote on what his rights are. Well, okay. Oh, so would you say that you run your household incredibly pro the house's name? You advocate for your family probably above all else. Yeah, obviously it's my family. Oh, and what you run as a dictator? Sure, yeah. Interesting. So kind of like a ultra-nationalist authoritarian to tell us you're a fascist. You're a fascist. It's like, okay, yeah, like, sure, yeah, I run my house like a fascist. I guess technically, yeah, that's true. But it's like the form of analysis doesn't really work when you're applying it to firms or households or schools or, you know,
Periodical passage.
it breaks down
Literally.
for a variety of reasons. Namely, there are different expectations and responsibilities placed on firms and governments.
So that way. Because companies aren't democracies. They're totalitarian.
So how do you run a company? So first of all, usually how are companies made? Usually
I would never talk to Ethan about this because this is the one aspect where it goes directly against his best interest.
Right.
made by a few.
I can't believe you understand what Hassan is saying here, right? Let me do the Destiny translation. I would never talk about this to Ethan because he's such a disgusting, bad faith, greedy fucking loser that he's never gonna be honest about how absolutely gross the way that he runs his businesses, and he's just gonna shill for fucking capitalism because he's a wealthy business owner that directly benefits off of the exploitation of his labor, right? That's like what a gross statement. Like also, not to mention, how insane to say that about a guy that you co-host a social political podcast with. What a weird thing to say. I would never talk about this because I know my co-host is bad faith. By the way, when I say this, that thing that we won't talk about, it's literally like the center point to my entire economic and political philosophy. Move it away from the edge. You can use floor hold to go through, then run it down the pillar. Can you replay what he says again? He basically says Ethan is too bought into capitalism as a business owner to even have an honest opinion about this, so Hassan could never reach him. That's essentially what he's saying, right?
First of all, usually how are companies made? Usually
I would never talk to Ethan about this because this is the one aspect where it goes directly against his best interest.
Right.
made by a few entrepreneurs.
Like I wouldn't debate Ethan on this front. I mean, obviously it's different for Dan because
Daily.
like Dan is
An employee instead of an employer.
What's
Bro,
our
come on. What a weird
interest?
thing to say about your podcast co-host about politics. That's such an unbelievably shitty thing to say. Like, imagine if Ethan was like, I think that talking about the current state of world affairs and what's happening in Ukraine and China is important. I don't really think I would discuss genocides, though, with a Turk. I don't think I would discuss genocide with Hassan, because obviously he's very motivated to deny, you know, his people's... Like, could you imagine saying something like that? Like, that would be so wild. Like, bro, Hassan's your podcast co-host. Why would you say that? That he's not capable of engaging on something on a political level? That's so unbelievably true.
like Dan is you know he works with Ethan in a different way. But if I were to debate someone who is a business owner,
What does he mean he works with Ethan in a different way? You mean he works for Ethan? Why did he just avoid saying that?
friend or not friend, like that's not a talking point that I would use because that shuts you out of the combo aggressively.
That's why. Right. Yeah. Okay. So what if we ran companies that way?
Isn't Hassan a business owner? Not really, but like not by choice, just because he's lazy. He should be, but he's not.
I'll take on humanity, dude. You guys are
Dan, do you know? Because you know everything.
Yeah, I don't really. Do you really want to get into this right now?
I don't mind.
I'm actually curious.
Right now, so.
Okay, that's
they
fine.
think that, like-
I'm actually curious what, because like it seems like majority of the chat is disagreeing, and so
We have a very left-leaning audience here on the H3 podcast, and I'm sure plenty of people agree with you. I'm sure, but I mean, obviously,
I think we are left-leaning too. so that's
anti-capitalists are going to speak up when you're giving an impassioned defense of it. But
I wouldn't say it's impassionate, but I do. I'm a capitalist. What do you want? You know what I mean?
Base.
And I think but the thing
Base,
is,
he said
I think
that.
like,
So
workers
base.
should share in
yeah, that's the fundamental difference. Is that
workers should get a percent of your earnings, essentially, a percentage of their production. You know, I don't agree with that. I don't think. I mean, in some cases it's true, but I think you do have an obligation to make sure your employees are well provided for. You know what I mean? Like that's for sure. Fuck it, chat. You're watching a capitalist pig. Deal with it. I don't know what the fuck. You guys are all like
Giga
radical
chat.
communists. There's that many radical communists.
Oh my god, Ethan is having a destiny moment. Wait a sec, guys. When you all were like, we love communism, you guys aren't actually like radical communists, right? Wait, really? He's like, no. Wait, really?
radical communists. Not everybody that's
Yeah,
anti-capitalist is
communist.
communist.
It is kind of
What a weird statement. Not everybody's anti-capitalist. What are you then? What do you mean?
radical take, that being like full anti-capitalist. I mean, you're essentially advocating to change the entire structure of all societies today on Earth. That's not radical.
Is there anywhere in the world that is doing that?
Uh-oh.
Not really. China is apparently communist, but it's not really.
It's not. People couldn't do whatever they wanted
North
during
Korea is
COVID.
communist. Well, not really.
Yeah, that's not really.
Yeah. Russia is, well, I don't know what Russia is. No, not really. I don't think there is. I don't think there really is.
Uh-oh.
But how is being anti-capitalist not
Sorry, the
radical?
accusations Russell Brand not yet.
Just in theory, because how, like,
Because the United States isn't the whole world, dude. Like,
what country is not?
I mean, I'm
capitalist?
from.
Oh my god, dude. I feel like Ethan is like a 160 IQ guy stuck inside of like an 85 IQ brain. I don't know how to explain it. He has this way of just like asking really profound questions, kind of, in like the dumbest and simplest way. He does this over and over and over again.
Let's ask simple questions or recommend false about.
I love that Ethan, like, I don't even know these words. Ethan just like asks really good questions, and he brings up really good points in like the most kind of aloof way. Like, well, it's media propaganda that's meant to appreciate Taiwan, and look, we don't even care about Yemen, and blah 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 blah. And he's like, well, like, I mean, yeah, but don't we like trade a lot more with Taiwan, so isn't that kind of normal? He just happens to like so nonchalantly kind of cut the bullshit and ask like the best kind of question to somebody that was really funny, drunken master style. And it's just so funny to like listen to him kind of. It almost like he's stumbling through these very concise and to the point questions. It's so funny to listen to him do it. It's just so funny.
Israel, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Anti-capitalist socialist political parties. Some of them.
What?
Just in theory, because how, like,
Because the United States isn't the whole world, dude. Like,
what country is not?
I mean, I'm
capitalist?
from
most
Israel,
of
but
Europe
it's pretty
has
much the same
large
thing.
anti-capitalist socialist political parties. Some of them in power at times. Some of them.
Where? If Ethan, now this would be mean of Ethan, and I understand it would be mean of Ethan to say this, but because asking like for source on the spot, but this is because, oh, which country has a vibrant socialist movement? Which country is actually socialist? When was the last time a socialist party held power and was enacting socialist policies in a European country? Can you tell me that? Which one? Name one. Just one.
Yep. It's definitely.
They're capitalist country, bro.
Oh my god, but Ethan knows that. Oof. Why does he even know that? I wouldn't expect. My expectations for Ethan are like in hell. The bar is in hell. Okay, it's very low. I'm sorry, but like I wouldn't even expect him to necessarily know that. But that is true. Sweden is a capitalist country. Norway's a capitalist country. Okay, most of these countries are capitalist countries, and he knows that.
Name one European
Is
country.
it?
Oh no!
We saw that. There comes
Oh no, he did it!
It's definitely.
Capitalist country, bro.
examples.
Name one European country that isn't a capitalist country.
No, yeah, you're right. They're all capitalist countries.
Oh, and he's like, is he saying it like half sarcastically when he's like totally fucking wrong, but he just doesn't want to admit it? Oh my! And with a single question, you watch the entire socialist world viewpoint crumble. And with one question, who are the socialist European? Remember, what did we just go from? Europe has vibrant socialist parties that have been in power at multiple points in time. Name one. Okay, whatever, dude. Fine. Okay, whatever.
Okay. You know, there's plenty to criticize for modern capitalism. Lots. It's not working in its current form. It's just
It's sending losers. That's it.
broken in its current form. Like this late stage capitalism that, like this subreddit, like it's very poignant, I believe, with the late stage capitalism.
Okay, we'll
You know,
get to
it's
that,
not
but-
working for sure.
We'll give it to him. It's okay.
But like, name one. You know, social democracies do great in Europe.
How does he even know these
Sweden, for
terms?
example.
Yeah, because you're explaining Sweden pretty much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Good for
a
you, Ethan.
capitalistic country with insanely high social benefits.
Yes.
That's what I would like to see.
That's why I've lived in my life.
Mhm.
I'm curious what these people have to criticize. I mean, there's a lot to
That's-
criticize.
Oh, and this guy's actually Swedish and not a retard. I don't know if any Swedes would say. I feel like I've talked to Melina about this, but obviously she's not like quite, but I don't think I've never gotten the impression from Melina. She's told me that like you can have young people in schools that are like pro-socialist, but Swedish citizens won't say that. Generally, Swedish citizens are going to say, "Oh, I'm pro-communism" or pro-socialism, or that I'm a socialist country. That's what Melina tells me. I think that's what her dad told me too. I don't know 100% true. I don't know that many Swedes, but
Dan, you have a radical communist right next to you.
I actually don't know what the criticism is for Sweden's economy.
oh, and it's a capitalist economy, and this guy's from Sweden. Oh no.
So
That's
I'm
exactly
also
what I
thinking-
would love to see. Like that's what I don't understand why everybody is like that.
And I'm sure there are. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm genuinely curious. I don't know.
I think that
I think that a lot of
Scandinavia.
young people see that capitalism, whether you think it has brought a lot of improvements to people's lives, is a system that is killing the planet. And
I'm sorry. Are we going to talk about? It wasn't the asteroid.
What?
That's like star shit. What was the name of that sea? I think it was the fourth largest sea in the world that the Soviet Union completely drained. Oh, Aral. I don't know if I can pronounce this. I'm pretty sure this was one of the largest seas in the world, and I think the Soviet Union drained it completely. Formerly the fourth largest lake in the world, with an area of 68,000 kilometers squared, the Aral Sea began shrinking
They make this bomb or
in
something.
the 1960s after the rivers that fed it were diverted by Soviet irrigation projects. By 2007, it declined to 10% of its original size, splitting into 4 lakes. By 2009, the southeastern lake had disappeared, and southwestern lake retreated within strip, the western edge of the former Southern Sea. Soviets hunted multiple species of whales into almost extinction. Soviet Union tried to hide exploding nuclear reactors. Wait. Okay. Chernobyl was in 86. Make sure that was still Soviet Union, not Russia. Yeah, like. For reference, the size of that sea is the Netherlands and Belgium put together. Why would you think that's a fair reference for me? I'm an American, bro. Put it in terms of like units of Texas.
and especially in the last 30 to 40 years, most people, I think, at least I can only speak. I'm just going to speak on the United States because that's my experience and what I've been around.
Oh my god, it's so bad, Faith. Do you see how quickly we went from
Okay.
America's not the only place in the world, dude? Have you ever heard of a little place called Europe? Notice how quickly we went from that to.
I'm just going to speak on the United States because that's my experience and what I've been around.
Notice how quickly we switched up when we realized that one, there was a Swede here, and two, we couldn't name a single European country that back we were going to say. I can't believe how shameless our switch in tone here is. That's unbelievable. Oh my god. But okay, dude.
Is like you said,
Absolute
you're just talking about subreddit that's all
shamelessness.
centered around it. I feel like people see the decline happening and they're fundamentally unhappy with the way that we have arranged our society. And to act like it was eternal and was always like this is kind of naive. I mean, capitalism. Well, 'cause capitalism is something that has only existed for about 200 years. And like
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to go back to feudalism? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to go back to what, serfdoms? Well, that might be part of feudalism. Do you want to go back to tribes murdering each other? Do you want to go back to pre-agrarian societies? Did you want to go back to like? I'm sorry. What period in human history had better economic development? Can you please? Well, wait. Please tell us. Spoiler alert: the H3 sub blazed the fuck out of him for how great his arguments were against Ethan. That's not surprising at all.
form that we know it.
I didn't say it's always been like this.
Right, but I'm
Talking
just saying
about
that,
the
like,
form of
do you think
government.
that we have figured it out, that we found the best system of organizing society?
I think that you know
we're at the end of
I think part of it you have to tangle with is what's realistic. Like what's a realistic
Okay,
way for
but
people to form.
I feel like if we're
How do
talking
you
about
find
America,
what's realistic about a society that, I mean, we live in Los Angeles, there's thousands of homeless people starving on the street in our neighborhood.
I'm not advocating for that.
Right, but
Wait, starving? They're homeless. But I don't know if you know what starving on the street looks like. That's a very American take, but okay.
I'm saying that people see the flaws in the system that we currently have, and so that they.
I see them too.
And there's a lot of. This is the thing. You're saying like everybody's a radical communist. That's not necessarily the case. Being anti-capitalist doesn't equate that. It just is somebody that has landed on the side of the coin.
Such a good point. With peace and love, Ethan, do any of your employees own a home? This is a phenomenal point. 400 comments. What? What did this guy say? Love owns a pool.
Editors.
I think Lena out of the house in Dearborn that they rent to his brother or something. I want to bet they make a decent salary. You can spell LA as in housing prices. My perspective on communism as an indigenous person? I just want to answer Ethan and Keela's question on naming societies that have been communist. Native/indigenous people gave Marx the concept of a collectivist communist culture. We organize ourselves this way much longer than capitalism has been around. I would say people have known this way of life for longer in history than Western notions of private property and capital. Yeah, okay, and let me farm my hater clips.
Wait, what does even mean by indigenous?
No, what happened to those people? When the people that organized their societies in a different way? Fuck, even other indigenous people that organized their societies in anti-communist ways went north, abducted all you motherfuckers, and then took you south and did ritual executions on you because you didn't have the organization to resist them. I don't think that citing like past historical thousands and thousands of failed like AD communes is the most compelling argument to become like, oh, look at all these societies that failed in the past. Like they did these things. Wouldn't that be good? Like no, no, I don't think they would be. I don't think I want to do that. A land tribe hosts you with 6 viewers. Oh my god, thank you so much. You get a big follow. It's also about history. Native Americans had extensive trade before the societies collapsed when Europeans arrived. I mean, you can still be a communist thing and trade, right? Also, Ethan is a company owner, a big one too. He also never knew poverty. He thinks he does, but he doesn't. I wonder if this guy's known poverty. From what he's talked about, it sounds like neglectful parents would be more accurate. He's talked about his parents were making food as a teen, or making me gross food as a kid. Also very interesting. Here's a living example of a native collectivist anti-capitalist democracy. It's possible.
Para la comunidad purépecha, es decir, todos los pueblos purépechas aquí en Michoacán, el fuego pues es esta vía. Esto que te permite renacer. Los años previos a 2011 nosotros como jóvenes sí nos sentíamos como con esta pues libertad súper cuartada.
What are we watching?
Nuevo para Terán comienza desde ahí, desde...
Continúa en sintonía de...
Welcome to Chiran, a small indigenous community in the state of Mochiacan that kicked out the local drug cartels and refused to settle for government corruption. Wow. Well, since 2011, a small town is communist, so congratulations. Yeah, you're right. Of course, communism is markets. I guess what communism doesn't have is a stock system to gamble on which company will continue to be good or bet against. Is that capitalism? Or I don't believe most forms of communism would have markets. I'm pretty sure you would have external allocation mechanisms. I don't believe communists rely on supply and demand to do trade. Don't think so. I believe that that's the definitionally true. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. And I trust myself more than random fucking pro-commie chatter. This, they were completely missing the inherent whiteness in capitalism, a massive point of debate in this conversation that is honestly careless to leave out. Thank you for saying this. Oh my god, dude, 71 upvotes. If you guys were like this, bro, I would fucking retire tomorrow. Holy shit, I would be done. I'd be like, thanks guys, got my kit contract, I'm just gonna leave for the next 10 months and we're fucking out of here. Oh my god.
That they think that the system that we have, that capitalism is not working. And there's
I
a
agree
huge
with
variety of people
I agree
ways
with
that
everything
people
you're
go
saying.
from that. Well, and some people, I mean, most Republicans, and I would say even a lot of Democrats would say what you just described, that social democrat kind of point of view,
They're not,
would
though.
say that you are anti-capitalist with that point of view.
That's fine, then I accept
Then I would from that. Well, and some people, I mean, most Republicans, and I would say even a lot of Democrats would say what you just described, that social democrat kind of point of view,
They're not,
would
though.
say that you are anti-capitalist with.
I'm sorry, are we defining capitalism now by what Republicans say capitalism is? Republicans are functionally retarded. I'm not gonna go to them for anything I could find in the dictionary. Why would I listen to a Republican for defining anything, honestly? They don't even know what a woman is.
He's going hard on Republicans.
So I ask it all the time.
With that point of view.
That's fine, then I accept that.
Right.
I mean, say whatever the
And
fuck
social
you want.
democrats are very often seen as kind of like right on the fence between the what people call the left and the right.
So I'm
which
walking
in
the
most
middle path,
contexts-
like Buddha himself.
Right, you're taking the middle path.
don't you feel though that here in America, like people can't even afford healthcare or education? So like, isn't a social democracy the first step that we should all try to get to?
Yeah, a lot of people feel that
before
way.
like trying to get to like
There's
I
an
want
enormous
shares and
amount of
everything.
nuance and degrees here. Yeah.
So I
Nuance.
think that
I think that it's like for us, we're mostly talking about like what we see as realistic. Like what's the first step that we should at least try to get, like the bare minimum. I've been here 7 years. I'm still shocked about healthcare. Like it shocks me
Yeah.
every single time I deal with
It is shocking.
I pay $200 just to get a blood test. Like
Right.
it's insane. It's insane.
Mhm.
So to me, it's like yeah, we can talk like philosophical and we can talk all kinds of things, but I feel like what's actually gonna happen? What's something that
I like how crazy it is that for the longest fucking time, I had to fight old conservatives that would be like, Sweden is socialist, Sweden is socialist. And it's like, no, it's fucking not. It's not socialist. Sweden is a capitalist country, okay? I don't know why you're saying that. And now it's like young people are like, okay, we should have like strong welfare nets. Yeah, that's anti-capitalist. You're basically talking about Sweden. Welfare is anti-capitalism. Free healthcare, that's anti-capitalism. Like, okay, wait, so Sweden is socialist now? Is that according to young people? Like, I like how the positions are totally swapped.
would be a first step to improve?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of opinions on that, and a lot of people would say that it does need to be an incremental thing, and we need to work towards that. I mean, even people who describe themselves as communists say that because, again, like the USSR, for example, which is the most famous example of like a big country, a big superpower level country that people consider communist, right? Within their own framework, they never thought that they were communist. They thought they were taking steps towards communism, and in a variety of different ways. And so it's just about like that's an ideal. That's like an end goal that people who would self-describe as communists are. Now, what I would say a radical communist is somebody that wants a violent revolution to overthrow the government and take over and implement that system as closely as possible. Now, which is something that has happened in a variety of places to varying degrees of atrocities that fell out of that.
When you say you're anti-capitalist, though, does that mean that you are critical of capitalism?
You
Which
make
I
it too.
am.
I mean, a
Which
variety-
I am.
I think you say you're a capitalist, but it's a
But I
lot
am
more
because
nuanced.
I'm not against the idea of capitalism. I think it's a good system with the correct
With a lot of
mechanisms in place.
corrections.
Because when you say you're anti-capitalist, it sounds like you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't believe in capitalism as a governing
What it comes down to
concept.
me too is when you threw out that line from Glenn Ross about greed being good or whatever.
I don't think that's not bad. That's like a, isn't that like a?
Yeah,
Adam
that's like a.
Smith. Yeah.
I don't think that's the first time it was written.
It's not the
Well,
first
anyway,
time.
it's
Jesus.
certainly not the first time that people
Why is it being so Weasley?
but that line
The same.
that people often repeat is from that play. But anyways, yeah, I mean, all it comes down to me is that
The Invisible Hand? Really? You're gonna quote a movie from the 70s or 80s at me? Or I don't know when that came out. Like, come on, really? I know it was a play first. I think it was a play first.
I don't think arranging society based.
Berserk reference?
Anyways, yeah, I mean, all it comes down to me is that I don't think arranging society based on greed is good for the human spirit, and I think we see the consequences of that all around us.
So
a hyper-capitalistic society like
greed needs to have
A channel,
bumpers.
yeah.
Okay? Because the idea that we can live in a society without greed is a fairy tale. It just doesn't exist. And you can't approach a practical way of governing a huge body of people without looking at it realistically.
This was deleted on H3H3. Ethan does not understand capitalism. I love Ethan and H3, but I'm a social studies teacher in Canada.
It's actually based right
I've
there.
heard you listen to Ethan talk so confidently. So I will explain in the hopes that he reads this. Capitalism does not mean economy. Ethan asked to create in a country that is not capitalist. Canada, most of Europe, and many other countries are not capitalist. They have mixed economies. Hold on. Most people would agree that they have mixed economies. The economies are largely dictated by the flow of capital. We have markets, we can invest in things, we've got private ownership and employees that work without ownership stake in companies. That is a capitalist system. Obviously, to some extent, they're mixed markets. Everything probably to some extent is going to be mixed market, unless you're in like the pure anarcho whatever, or pure anarcho-capitalist or
Who's actually writing this?
communist society, right? What a stupid statement. This is a social studies teacher? Cringe. Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm missing the dumber point. America is a mixed economy. We have plenty of government intrusion into different parts of our markets. Government guarantees certain contracts. The government guaranteed vaccine payments. The government sets a minimum wage, you can argue. The government, I think, guarantees certain prices for like Medicare things. The government provides for like food. Like, there's plenty of, sorry. They have mixed economies. Capitalism is an economic system, also called a free market economy, that revolves on zero government intervention. You can have economies that involve some free market enterprise, so balance the government intervention in different areas. It is no longer capitalist when you do that. Nobody uses this social studies teacher. I guess in Canada you don't have to get a degree to be a teacher. This person is either uneducated or they teach in kindergarten, or whatever. I don't know what the qualifiers of getting a degree in Canada are, but I would be shocked if if this person has a degree, and then I would be sad if that's the level of education that you provide your citizens in Canada. Nobody uses capitalist like this. In that case, every economy basically in the world would essentially be a mixed market. There is no capitalist economy, there's no communist, there's no social, everything's mixed market. Like, that's what a worthless distinction.
Yes, it was. What
If Ethan
a
was truly a
statement.
you'd have economies. If Ethan was truly a full capitalist, he would not support social programs like lunch in schools. The fact that you think that lunch in schools is communism or socialism, like what is he? The ideals of capitalism revolve around competition, supply and demand, but so does every other economic system. That's not true. That's the whole point of a command economy. So for instance, in Venezuela, one of the issues they ran into is they were no longer using supply and demand to determine what market prices should be. The government was setting strict price controls on a lot of different commodities, and basically private firms closed shop and left. That was one of the huge issues when gas started to tank around the world and inflation hit in Venezuela. That was one of the big issues in Venezuela that happened, where the price controls had a severely negative impact on firms to compete, and then they just left. So does every other economic system. Capitalism is the epitome of you get what you get and you don't get upset. And essentially, the theory is that people who fail at capitalism are on their own. What are you talking about? Ethan is a fan of market economies existing, but that is true of many mixed market economies. Capitalism is not synonymous with economy. Ethan likes some parts of capitalism, and the parts he likes are literally present in every other system. Capitalism. Oh, I felt bad for Dan, who was trying to explain to Ethan about the rhetoric of someone who explains these differences to kids for a living. This is like child abuse. Sincerely, a teacher was bugging out listening to Ethan at the end of the podcast. Who is this person? When people just say, I'm a teacher, it's a red flag for them being like a PE teacher or preschool teacher. I'm so triggered by this dog shit post. Ethan believes in regulated capitalism, which is not capitalism. As soon as you want the government to intervene, you're no longer talking about capitalism. By that logic, the US is not a capitalist country. It's such a reductionist and like stupid way to it. Like nothing is anything then. Private ownership means that there's capitalism. Liberal policies that enact some type of regulations to abolish private ownership. Generally true. I cannot believe you're a teacher. Either that or Canada is a serious education program. True. So what is communism or socialism? It's okay, I'll tell you. A political and economic theory of social organization advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange to be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. You can sling insults at education like a weird hog. You can just use Google and rely. Wait, what is wrong with this? Yeah, that is communism and socialism dictates that the means of production, so like the buildings and the capital, the things that make goods and services in society, and then like the distribution of the mode of production, the exchange, right, should be owned by the people that work it, essentially, right? That there aren't owners, there's just laborers who own what they. I think in the strictest sense, I think in communism, even the laborers don't own the capital. The capital is owned by no one, or something weird like that in a truly communist society. But yeah, I don't know why you would like make fun of him by citing the correct quote at him about. That's what I said. What's the screen about? OP said that regulation means the U.S. isn't capitalist, which is stupid. OP was making a more nuanced statement about socialism doesn't mean no economy. Now you're thinking you're implying something they weren't. Jesus Christ. Capitalism is when the government doesn't do stuff. Is definitely as wild to take as socialism is when the government does stuff. True. My guy, capitalism is literally an economic system where the belief is that the only purpose of government is to enact laws that protect private property. Whoa, what? Wait, is this the teacher? This is the teacher. Now he's talking politics. Capitalism, just my understanding is, now to be fair, people can mix up economic systems and governments because they tend to go hand in hand, right? It's hard to imagine a strictly capitalist society with an authoritarian government kind of, or like a monarchy kind of, and it's hard to imagine a truly like communist society with a democratic government kind of, or like a liberal government kind of. It can get weird. Like things tend to go together. But
This can't be real. This
my guy, capitalism. My understanding is capitalism. Well, let's see. Capitalism. My understanding is capitalism implies private ownership of firms. Essentially, basically, somebody can invest money or buy capital, stuff that makes stuff. What capital essentially is. That can be owned by a person that doesn't work it. Now, capitalism is often paired with liberalism, broadly speaking, in that you have protection for private property. You've got guarantees that like your protection for private property. You've got I'm trying to think if there's anything else you would need. like general, like broadly speaking, like right to free association, liberal, like the broad liberal principles, like I guess bill of rights based shit, right? You're guaranteed like some rights, and these tend to go along with like a capitalist society, right? You need like due process because you don't want random people being arrested for, or you need like a guarantee of like the ability to defend your product. Sorry. Capitalism. It's an economic system based on the private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. Yeah. Exchange, wage, labor, property rights, private property. Yeah. My God, capitalism is literally an economic system where the belief is that the only purpose of government is to enact laws about private property, and that's it. I have a degree in this shit, you fucking ninny. Obviously, that is the most bare bones explanation, but Ethan is using capitalism synonymously with economy, which is just wrong. He likes the idea of market economies, not a full free market economy like capitalism advocates for. I wonder if you could, we're going down a dangerous road, so we're just flirting with this idea at the moment. I'm okay with Jordan Peterson having his license revoked if Jordan Peterson is citing his license to be a credentialed expert on things like trans issues when he stands in opposition to the board that grants that license. I can understand that, right? I'm totally sympathetic towards the Canadian Psychologist Board or whatever the fuck, saying, listen, bro, we don't co-sign your shit. You're not going to sign our license anymore. We're not signing off this. I can understand that. If somebody was to run around saying, oh, I have a degree in history at Harvard, and only 1 million Jews died. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a Harvard-educated history person. I think I could understand Harvard being like, hey, we want that degree back, and we don't ever want you saying that you got a degree from our school because you're actively co-signing what you're saying, without educating what you're saying. I wonder if people should have like degrees revoked if they're this wrong on something so fundamental to like score political point. No, this is the same has a degree, but I highly doubt your degrees in economics on political science if you're bringing terrible takes like this out. Capitalism is as much a spectrum as socialism or communism. If we're getting into the spectrum, maybe this guy's about to say something sorry. If we're getting into the spectrum of ideology, communism and socialism are not exactly the same thing, and Ethan often treats them synonymous too. True capitalism is what I said. People believe in different ways to get there, and you're right that I would still consider a lot of perspectives under the branch of capitalism. I do not like perfectly the definition of capitalism, but Ethan's explanation of why he's a capitalist is literally explaining support for mixed economies. Basically, everybody supports mixed economies. This is such a stupid take. Nobody is saying who advocates for the strictest, purest form. Like everybody advocates for some form of mixed economy. Almost everybody does. If you support mixed economies, that's no longer capitalism.
Usually fighting with costs.
No one's capitalism. You're talking about private ownership of capital. He's a fan of market economies, not true capitalism. No, because Ethan is a private business owner who owns his business. He's probably a fan of owning a private ownership of business as well. If anything, he's a modern liberal, which is opposed to classical liberalism as a counterpart to capitalism. A modern liberal is opposed to classical liberalism? What? What do you think either of these things are? Again, I'm oversimplifying, but communism versus capitalism as an economic system boils down to belief in government intervention in the economy. LOL, these comments are unhinged. You're accurate in your theories, so I don't know what these people think capitalism is. They think capitalism is good things. Oh my God. Maybe the difference is an education system. This is what I was taught all throughout school. Yes, there are many forms of capitalism, but they all involve very little to no involvement from government. Where do you learn this at? I'm sorry, are there any Canadian educated people here? Anybody here with a Canadian degree? Did they actually teach you this dog shit in Canadian schools? Oh well, I guess we can agree to disagree on these things. It's not like I hate Ethan for his take. I was just adding outside perspective because again, I'm not American. Having a degree makes you super smart. I feel bad for your class. You sound annoying to heat around smart ass. What do you mean? Limeo, when having a degree in something is an insult because people are so unhinged in their love for being uneducated. Bro, they're acting elitist. Some people are super smart because of a degree. Degrees mean nothing, dude. LOL, okay, anti-education chatter. I happen to still value education. If I were learning something, I would much rather come from somebody with a degree. But keep this. I think this is fake. Never mind. I actually totally changed my mind. Here's what I think is happening. This is just a total guess. My guess is this person is like 13 to 15 and their mom or dad is a teacher. That's my guess. Best graduate of the University of American Samoa right here, LOL. That's a better call Saul joke. University of American Samoa is university where graduation is supposed to be easy. I don't feel the need to brag about what school I went to. Ooh, yikes. Imagine bragging so heavily about your degree but being ashamed of the school you graduated from. Oh no. In the United States, most production happens under private ownership in the context of market competition. Sure, there's still some regulation, and you can argue that this makes our system not a theoretically perfect capitalist system, but it still operates predominantly in a capitalist structure. Calling it capitalist is fine, and most people understand the nuance. Saying that Ethan doesn't understand capitalism because of this seems like kind of out of touch. True, that is correct. Sorry, perhaps I did not explain myself well enough. I'm not saying Ethan doesn't understand capitalism because the US is not 100% capitalist. I think you can totally still refer to yourself as a capitalist and not fit the criteria 100%. But after listening to Ethan's explanation, it became clear that he's a fan of economic competition, private ownership to a degree, etc., which justify capitalism. But he also believes that there should be limits and pro-union shop, etc., that contradict the ideology of capitalism itself. Capitalism revolves on the idea that the economy regulates itself. No, it doesn't. What? Capitalism is just private ownership of the means of production. I don't understand what he's saying. Ethan's explanation actually is just the definition of a mixed economy. Mixed economy doesn't really tell us much. Mixed economy doesn't tell us about I don't think it really tells us anything about the means of production, does it? You could be like a market socialist, theoretically. So what I'm saying is that he advocates for capitalism, he's just advocating for market economies. Market economies are not just the same as capitalism. There are many of the same facets, but it takes away the ideological component that's present in capitalism. Capitalism is both a social and economic ideology. I was frustrated listening to Ethan equate having some form of market economy and capital. What is the social ideology of capital? I mean, like I said, it tends to go hand in hand with liberalism, but dude, I'm getting triggered reading this. I need to stop. I'll have to stop. I'm like driving myself crazy reading this guy's post.
Okay, you just stop getting this.
Based on whether or not an opinion they have on your mother is incongruent to your own view on the subject. Capitalism applies. Capital reigns supreme in terms of the flow of fluids for myself and to your economic relatives.
This more
because
content.
at the end of the day, if you look at the USSR again, and I mean, it's a catastrophe because the people on the top who rise to the top are the ones that are pathological. They are greedy.
That happens in our society?
It is, but that's not the antithesis of everything that we stand for.
You think that capitalism does a better job at harnessing
you have to be aware. Say, listen, we live in a world where greed is inevitable, and so we need to harness that for the good that it does provide, and we need to put on bumpers for the bad things it does do. Because if we're like, yo, we need communism, and greed is bad, and nobody.
This is a 2015 slap. You're probably 3 comments away from someone describing Stalin and political compass currency. Even if you just like bread tube, it's ironic. No one seems to have anything. There's going to be 2 degrees of peak activity, and those people are making higher level arguments on this 2 videos. Yeah, I think my biggest issue. Somebody said this, and I actually agree with them, and I disagree with them because it's worth what they said. Somebody said, who was it? Was it a YouTube video or person I talked to? They said reading books is important because a lot of information on the internet just becomes recycled. From Wikipedia to YouTube videos to Reddit comments to Twitter threads, more or less you're getting like 2 or 3 bits of information about a topic that there might be 5,000 pieces of information on. And I used to think like, okay, true, reading books is probably really important to gather new information that's not like on Wikipedia, which is most right? Which I still think is probably true. However, I think the issue is like nobody actually spends time diving even into the Wikipedia arguments of the things that they're talking about. I said this before, and I was so mindfucked that like Pearl spent how many months, over a year, talking about like that marriage shit or whatever. And when Ethan brings up like a basic, not contradiction, a basic challenge, there's a term I'm looking for. When Ethan brought up a basic challenge to the shit that she was saying, she like completely fell apart. Or when I went to debate Rolo and Sartain, and I brought up some basic stuff like, actually, I think that your ideas are incorrect here about your Evo psych shit. They just immediately folded. They're like, oh shit, okay, you're right. And I was like, wait, really? That's all it took? You guys been arguing this shit for how long, and you're done? Yeah, I'm like, you guys have been doing this for years. I would have thought more stuff would have come up for you by now, but Jesus.
You know, everyone is equal. There's the cycles are going to rise to the top. And they're not going to fucking do what needs to be done. It's just not going to happen. And it's not realistic. People are going to cut. They're not going to live that way. They're not going to live that way. The psychopaths, which there's going to be like 10, 20% or just full-on psychopaths, are the ones that are going to become powerful. And they're going to take advantage of the system. They're going to become our oligarchs. They're going to become.
So do you believe that? Do
exploitative.
you think the United States, with like its democracy, like our election system and democracy, gives good safeguards, or at least gives some safeguards to preventing the sociopaths like you're talking about that rise up through like a totalitarian system?
That's not even a problem that you can control for. There's no way we're going to keep
you don't think
sociopaths
having
becoming
like
billionaires.
elections and being a democratic and term limits or having our president change every 4 years?
Are we talking about like rich people or elected officials?
I'm talking about elected officials. I'm talking about like essentially what I'm asking is, do you think democracy is a good thing, and do you think democracy is what helps prevent?
Yeah, but obviously our democracy isn't perfect either.
Right.
You know.
But you think ultimately that being a democracy, living in a society that votes and has, you know, the people agree on who should represent us and who should lead us is something like that's a better system than like say China, right? Where they have a council of elites and somebody selected from within, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what if we ran companies that way? Because companies aren't democracies; they're totalitarian.
So how do you run a company? So first of all, usually how are companies made? Usually,
are you saying like an entrepreneur starts a business?
Like Apple. Let's just take Apple or Google.
Right.
Made by a few enterprising people. So yada yada yada. It's made by 3-4 people. Apple, and over the years it's growing. And so how do you run Apple?
At what point does it become like subject to public
I'm sorry, but that's really something about economics. If you need proof of this, you go watch the debate Richard Wolff. I don't even know if you're trolling. I can't tell if you're trolling.
opinion on who's going to run it and stuff like that? At what point does it get big enough to make those decisions?
And that's something that
he has no answers for anything. I can't believe that people think this guy did well. So he's not having answers for literally any question. And these are like well, let me be fair to the Dan guy guys, because it's not like the Dan guy's like a master debater. But it's not so much of a pussy to ever actually argue with Ethan on this. So I guess like Dan is basically left to having to carry the torch of socialism. But like, yeah, he's not gonna have any answers to any of these questions.
He's only one there.
that's why I have a question about
who's going to run.
I noticed this. I've started to call this out more in debates, especially as I become more educated or researched or well read whatever on the topic. Is I notice that anytime somebody says, "Well, hold on, let's not get into the weeds." Well, hold on, we're getting into the what was the other thing? Oh, it's nuanced. It's very nuanced. Anytime somebody says that, it's like code speak for I don't actually know what I'm talking about, and I kind of like just prefer to go back to the vague generalities of before. Yeah, it's almost always code for that. The nitty gritty, yeah.
Just like that. At what point does it get big enough to make those decisions?
And that's something that. See, that's why I have a question about how do you feel about elected.
Because like an independent artist is also running a business and could be making a lot of money depending. There's a wide range. So how do we what do we define as?
Businesses aren't government.
True. How does he, bro? He is like the drunken master. Hold on one sec. Fucking Ethan, man. What a god.
And
One sec.
No, they're not. They're
part of like the freedom we enjoy.
But I agree that like a company like Google is owned by government.
Yeah, we're
That's a whole different aspect of regulating these like monster businesses.
Right, and oftentimes, when there are critical parts of society that we deem like off limits to the private sector, we're like, let's say like the military. We don't, the government has a monopoly on that, right? A monopoly on like keeping an armed force and everything. Yeah. And at least in theory, I mean, obviously there's a whole different conversation, but in the United States, we have some say over what our military does as a result of that, right? Because we elect the people, we elect the commander in chief, we elect who's in charge, and we elect the person who is able to control the armed forces, right?
I mean, theoretically, the armed forces will be controlled by Congress, which hasn't really ever.
Sure, you're right. Yeah, according to the Constitution.
But you're saying, what are you saying? Just, what I mean.
I'm just saying that we can agree that there are certain things in society that we have decided that it's best if this is not left up to the entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Yes, government should be in charge of stuff that has great social.
Right, and so some people might think that the work that people are required to do to live in our society is also something essential and should be controlled more democratically in the same way that we control government institutions.
How?
Like what?
I mean,
how do you mean?
How there are public institutions, right?
So electricity isn't invented by one dude who's just like, I have this great idea, I'm gonna make a company. Okay. The internet isn't owned by one dude. You know what I mean? Water isn't owned by one dude. Just by the definition of utility. So how are you going to go to a guy who founded Google and say, how do we make the government? We're taking it for the government. So what does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay, well, I mean, so I feel like there's two tracks here because there's how do we like you're now asking like how because we're in deep, right? There's a sunk cost here. We built a society the way that we are, and ripping that all out is going to be a very disruptive process. So you're right. Like what if the government tomorrow were to nationalize all of Silicon Valley and just say, yeah, these are all publicly owned and take it all away, obviously people wouldn't go quietly with that, especially the people that own Google. They wouldn't like that, right? And so, I mean, that's something that has happened in history a lot when socialist revolutions happen, when the revolution happens.
This guy's thinking like, God, these conversations are a lot harder than they were on Hasan's stream. He's like, usually Hasan just says, the public should own a lot of the means of production. It usually just goes over well. Like, this is kind of like, it's kind of sad, but in a way, if you watch my stream and you come away from my stream like a debate, bro, at least like you're ready to go and talk to other people. I can't imagine people coming away from like a Hasan or Vosh stream and you're like, yeah, socialism is way better than capitalism. Really? How? Or well, I mean like in like every way. Like I mean, just look at Europe. Oh, where? Okay, I'm just American, so let's just talk about America. I'm just saying it's complicated. We should be socialist. Oh, how? Well, like make the companies. How? Well,
generally
we're
destroyed.
going to nationalize all the oil industry. Like that all just belongs to the government now. You don't get to own that as a private citizen anymore. And so, where is that line? What is essential to society? What is
again, oil? You're talking about a natural resource. I'm talking about like a big company.
Sure.
They invented their own product and sell it. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with The rules that govern that come from, the people, from the concepts of guardrails, high level, that they have to treat their employees with a certain level of, they have to compensate them to a certain level.
We're going back to social democracy. And listen, social, I don't have a problem with what you're describing, really. Like, I agree. I mean,
I don't think putting the government in charge is going to improve anything. If you were talking about like massive businesses like, Google, again, just to use an Apple, you're talking about natural resources that benefit all people that need, then that's it. Then, but listen, I'm open to having a debate about these things. I'm not saying one way or the other. Like,
about it. I just think that, I think it comes down to, again, where that line is drawn. And it's,
yeah, and that's nuanced. That's into the nitty gritty, and it's really in the weeds. Shut up, Lex. Destiny, people that start over nationalizing companies and never work their own business support. Yeah, the funny thing is that these guys are all in California, okay? Bro.
It's like
Lex knows $20 in a nice chair.
Internet stuff, for example. You're right. I mean, especially in the early days when it's just little companies figuring it out. But then at a certain point, when does the internet become a human right? When does living in society?
Okay, just as a heads up, because some people use dog shit arguments for this, okay? The internet, okay, just because something is important or vital for humans to survive doesn't mean that the government should provide for it. That's not true. People say things like that, but it's absolutely not true. The government should provide for things that markets can't solve for. That's the answer. For instance, food is probably like really important, okay? Arguably, we need food to survive, okay? So it's tempting to look at something like food and go like, oh, okay, well, should the government provide food or shelter or clothing or I don't know, whatever else, right? But food also happens to be solved for pretty well by markets. A lot of people do agriculture, a lot of different supermarkets for distribution, or for selling, a lot of different truck companies for distribution. There's a lot of different market factors that make it so that food is something that's generally pretty easily solved for by market forces. Just because it's necessary for humans to survive doesn't mean the government has to provide it. On the flip side, there might be things that the government, that market forces can't provide for well because of a million different potential reasons. The most commonly listed one would be things like high barriers to entry due to geographic monopolies, or geographic monopolies that result from high barriers to entry, especially structural ones. So for instance, infrastructure ones. For instance, the most commonly given one are utilities, like water, gas, electricity. You don't want to have competition arguably between like water providers, because to duplicate the infrastructure and have everybody running around, laying 400 different pipes in different houses and shit would be a cluster nightmare. That's probably better to just sanction it off, have one company run everything. It can be owned by the government, but like that's the thing with like you need government incentives, because markets don't solve well for things where there's very, very high barriers to entry, or like limited space or something like that, right? Yeah.
The internet become a requirement, and does it become up to deny people that because they can't? So it starts to get kind of gray, right?
Well, I'm looking at this nuance. I'm not saying we need to have conversations about stuff as it happens, and we need to have it from like a benevolent point of view and a realistic point of view. I'm not saying I'm open to having a conversation about socializing anything, right? But
eventually like computer chips? Yeah, sure. Aren't there like 3 chip manufacturers in the world? Does AMD even make their own chips anymore? Does Intel manufacture the chips and AMD just license them the x86 64 architecture or whatever the fuck? I'm trying to remember. Does AMD manufacture their own chips, or does Intel manufacture the chips now? Okay, AMD still makes them? Okay. There are loads of chip makers. TSMC fabs, AMD chips. I don't know how many different microprocessor fabricators there are. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company.
Different manufacturer chip making.
You are talking way too confidently about this and are missing the point of quality. Agriculture in USA and Europe is way different because of regulations imposed by the government that increase quality. That literally has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Swing and miss. People say there are loads of fabricators, but most of them make the low-end chips that use things like IoT blenders and cars. Oh, okay, hold on. Despacito.
What it should be a conversation and about like the social good that something can have, and if it needs to be, is it being, is this business being owned privately to a great detriment to the majority of people? Are people not having access to it who need it?
Do you read the thing you Googled? Nope, I was reading chat.
And this is a conversation to have on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and so you're an incrementalist, and you think,
and so far, like we're talking about the really big companies, which we all agree on that, like Google, Facebook, all the scary stuff. Agree, 100%. But like, what about the in between? What about everything else, like under that?
But again, I'm talking about like regulations. I'm talking about antitrust shit. I'm not talking about the full government takeovers of the company.
Okay, right, but it doesn't. The full government takeover of the company is the extreme end of that. But like the middle ground of what I'm talking about is unions. That's what unions.
Right?
Now we've gone from Edmund. Thank you for the $20. Now we've gone from talking about socialism to unions. Socialism is when unions. Do you see how funny it is that young people like inadvertently mind themselves into all of the conservative trappings of social democracies of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s? We can't have unions. That's socialism. I'm sorry, unions are not socialism. What are you talking about? Now, well, unions like a step towards socialism.
I think unions are great, and I think workers should have power.
So right, and so all a union really is in a sense, it's somewhat democratizing a workplace, because now the union gets a say in how the business is conducted. Hey, the workers, we're all getting together and we're saying, unless you improve this, unless you do this, we're not showing up.
This is a negotiation. This is a conversation. You know what I mean? It's not it's not a government interjecting and telling the business what they can and can't do.
Well, in a sense, it is, because government gives protections to unions.
Government gives protections to employers as well. That's really silly to say a union is like the government. It's not. I feel like you could. Where's the boy? I feel like you could make the argument that unions are just another type of firm, another type of business. I feel like you could make that argument. No? Could you? Sure, unions are afforded protections by government, but employers are afforded protections by government as well. By the way, that's not to say unions are good or bad. I mean, and unions aren't good or bad. Anybody that says unions are good, ask them how they feel about police unions. And anybody that feels that unions are bad, ask them how they feel about teacher unions. Right? Everybody has a different opinion depending on what union you're talking about. But unions are just collections of unions are things that represent collections of employees. Give employees more bargaining power. Can be used in good ways or can be used in bad ways. But
we at one point decided that these are important, and we created a structure.
I'm in favor of that.
Right, because prior to that, the owners of the factory or whatever, when the workers tried to do something like that, they literally can shoot them.
Right. So yeah,
you know what I mean?
Not okay.
That happened.
Okay, but I'm in favor of unions.
Okay, well,
and by the way, if you look at Scandinavia, which I think is like as close to a model society, they have tons of unions, right? And probably tons of laws protecting unions. And so again, I'm looking at social democracy like in Scandinavia and saying this is a model society, and it's as close as we're going to get as an equitable society, realistically too.
I'm trying to understand what is the point we don't agree on.
Well, I don't think we're that far.
Like I said, this is so much easier on a Hasan stream where I didn't know there's any pushback to this. I thought you just kind of said that like capitalism evil, everybody's supposed to clap.
Clap.
Oh a stack. I'm a stack. Go stack. Go stack.
You're saying
pause apart.
anti-capitalism. Are you opposed to the idea of capitalism? Because I agree that capitalism in its current form is unsustainable.
I would say that I am opposed to it, but I would say I am far less radical than many that think that we should tear it down immediately. I think that the ripple effect of that would inevitably be extremely violent and disruptive to society, and I'm more of the incrementalist. Now, I would say I am for the left of you because I think that the end goal should be a little bit further in that direction than what you're saying, but
in what way?
Which is why I just
we're
wanna
talking in
understand.
In what way? Yeah.
Like what?
In what way are you? First of all, that saying like capitalism shouldn't exist is like, I feel, a fairy tale. It's just not a realistic expectation for humans to.
Fairy tale.
Or like for me, it's like define what would that look like. I just want to like, get to an understanding of where we
Like,
are.
what would it look like? Well, unions and
I'm actually believing in fairy tale and fiction.
minimum wage. It was like, okay, so like what we have right now, or like a little bit more than what we have right now, or what?
like really simple terms.
Thank
I
you.
think that
I also really like when people say in really simple terms, when you say that, so let's say somebody asks me, Destiny, how could you characterize the organization of all 18th and 19th century classical music? I might say, well, in simple terms, tension and release. Now, I would say in simple terms, because there's a more complicated explanation about dominant sevens, resolution of tritones, the overall structure of music, right, that we can go into. But most people, when they say in simpler terms, what they mean is, I don't actually have an explanation. I like how he says in simpler terms, like implying, like, well, if you give me the opportunity, I can give you a very in-depth explanation for how all this go. When in reality, I have no idea. Well, in simple terms, like stronger unions and more minimum wage, free healthcare, which none of those things have anything to do with socialism.
Or like for me, it's like define what would that look like. I just want to like get to an understanding of where we
in
understand
really
each
simple
other.
terms, I think that an incrementally pushed left society that's moving away from capitalism a little bit would likely have companies use profit sharing models with their employees on a much bigger basis. And you see
Profit sharing? So that's where we're at now? Profit sharing is when capitalism is when no profit sharing? Have you ever heard of stock options? Have you ever heard of end of year bonuses? Like, have you heard of investments?
see some companies doing that, but if you study it over time, what has happened is the opposite of that, is that the profits of companies are getting concentrated more and more up.
But we're just talking about
Is that actually true? I feel like over time, and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like over time, I feel like stock options and stuff are becoming a more common way to compensate workers instead of less common. I could be wrong on that, but like, I can say like pensions back in the day, but I don't know if that's like profit sharing. But I don't even know if he is thinking about that at all.
regulating stuff again.
Right. So I would say that one thing that you could do is you could regulate it that you, as an owner and a CEO of a company, the profits that the company is generating, you're obligated to share that with the people that work for you on a much bigger scale.
It's just a matter of how
right now, which the goal always is to pay your workers as little as possible. That is, and that's not like a
and
secret.
that's human nature, bro. That's why we need to adjust where that bar is. We need to agree that that bar, because listen, it's only natural
that's why I'm
for
saying
people.
we're not that far away. We're talking in degrees of how far you move the bar. I probably move it further than you, but I'm not. I don't own a company.
But yeah, I mean, listen, if you're just debating on like how much to compensate your employees fairly, that's like you know.
We're talking about first steps here.
Like, I think every company should give X amount of profits to employees. It's also overly complicated because
God, he's just like, I love him. I don't know what happened. I feel like I became an Ethan fan like overnight. Like, because that would be my next question. Okay, profit sharing for employees. Okay, let's talk now. It's not fair to say I need a fully fleshed out, detailed profit sharing plan for housing. That's not fair, right? But like, can we talk? How would you even begin to do profit sharing? Do managers get a bigger cut of the profit share?
Really want to go on the Ethan podcast.
Does every employee get the same type of profit share? Do like when there is, how about this? If we're doing profit sharing, are we going to do profit loss or not profit loss? Are we going to do loss sharing? So last year, the company made $1 million. We got 100,000 employees. All of you get a $10 bonus or some shit or whatever, right? Well, this year we lost $100,000. We're docking your paychecks, or our employees only get to share in the good times. And when the company's a loss, now they're, well, you know what, like, yeah.
The sense it's like, what if you don't have a profitable year? Then the employees make less.
I'm having a fever dream. I think I took too much today. I'm having a fever dream right now.
Is he on mad?
Also, fudge the number. How many businesses fudge the number?
But what you just described happens all the time.
Okay, but I'm not.
No, you might get fired, but it's very, very, very rare to see wage cuts. It's actually, even if it's, I read this in a paper once, don't ask me, I don't remember, but I read in a paper once that even if it's worse for the business, firms prefer letting employees go over reducing wages of everybody because wage reduction is just like the ultimate cuck for every employee. Nobody wants to reduce wages. It's like the worst. I don't even know if businesses do it. It's like the absolute fucking worst thing you can ever do for your employees is cut their wages. So, even if it was the case that literally everybody, even if like your manager comes like, listen guys, we don't want to fire anybody, you gotta cut wages. Bad idea. You're just better off just firing 5 employees, even if it's worse for the business. Destiny, why? Just psychology. That's I read that somewhere. Okay.
Talking about what happens is not good. What is happening is not good. We both agree.
Yeah, no, I think obviously we both agree on that. Yeah, 100%. What you said? What's happening?
What's happening now is not good.
Yeah.
But okay. I think having a bare minimum bar of what we provide, the basic human rights to people, like FDR was carving out, is a better system, personally, and a simpler system, and a more realistic system.
Okay.
I feel like the conversations of like how far to go are like, I'd be willing to have them, but I feel like first I just want to see like normal shit happening. You know what I mean? Like
that's the thing is like that's why again. Like,
yes, it's part of why we see unemployment during recessions. If wages were perfectly flexible when a recession happens, everybody would still be able to find a job just for less. Yeah, I also heard that I'm getting into macroeconomics that I have no foundational understanding of, just to be clear. But I feel like I read at one point that one of the reasons why a good externality of printing money, or I shouldn't say QE because QE is a new thing, but like inflation occurring during recessions is because inflation is a sneaky way to help employers cut wages without employees feeling like their wages were actually cut. So inflation happens, everybody's wages effectively fall. The employer does no pay raises at all, and they effectively cut everybody's wages without having to fire anybody because inflation kind of sort of took over. Yeah. But I don't know if I read that a long time ago. I don't know 100% how solid ground it is. Yeah. Sticky wages is the only reason we have monetary policy. That's the whole point. I don't know, maybe.
I
have like my personal beliefs of like idealism of like how I would love to see the world work, like rainbows and everything, and then I have the other side of like, okay, we live in the real world, what can happen or whatever.
Actually, I have an evolutionary question. I'm so curious. Why isn't everybody a 10? If there are like objectively nicer looking faces, or objectively nicer, we'll just say faces. Why wouldn't like evolution like gear all of us towards just looking like that? What would be the evolutionary advantage of having some people being just ugly? Because people didn't care in the past? You really think so? Is that the case?
So yeah, I mean, for now, I would. Yeah, public healthcare would be great. You know, like that's the thing. Is, in my opinion, we're in such a bad spot that, like, yeah, you know, I'll take just getting Medicare for all. Like that would be a huge W, sure. And that's
Exactly.
in my opinion not far enough, but I'll take it. I'm not gonna say no to that, right?
People think that, I don't know, listen, people think it's being pessimist to say it's human nature to be greedy. Show me one time in a big organized society where that wasn't the inevitability of like deep-seated societal destroying corruption.
But do you want to live in a society that encourages that? Or
do I want to live in a perfect utopia? Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm not saying perfect utopia. I'm saying quite a few people that run our country, and I'm not saying you feel this way because this isn't your opinion, but this is the prevailing attitude in this country, is that it's a good thing to arrange the way we run society around. Let's embrace that greed. Let's use it for good, like you said, rather than, hey, this is a fundamental part of human nature. We should check it.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Well, it's to me not that big of a difference. It's the same thing.
I think there's a fundamental difference.
I'm not saying like there are people who are going to be extremely innovative and effective that are going to be motivated by wanting to be really rich and really powerful.
Yeah, I mean,
Elon Musk is a good example. The guy's a fucking psycho piece of shit. I hate him on a level, but like what he's achieved with Tesla is undeniable in terms of moving EV to mainstream.
Bro, wait, this is me. This is my take.
Pixel deck.
It just is undeniable, right? And I don't even want to give him the credit because I fucking hate him. I think he sucks. But like saying like making this, distinction between promoting greed or putting guardrails to prevent from greed, it's just there's not a significant difference there in my opinion. Unless you can explain. By the way, people were saying this was worse than dead air. The show's over, right? I mean, it's been over. Just leave it.
Yeah,
Don't like
time is it?
It's past 5.
It's after 5.
This is
we got caught up.
We gotta.
Jesus. We rewind. Okay, let's settle down. Let's calm our brains down a little bit, Hunk. Can we do that with a little bit, Hunk? Guys, is that okay?
So, you're not happy with your job?
Nope.
You found a better job? You're wondering how to quit your current job?
Yep.
Maybe you're miserable in your job. You searched how to quit your job. Let's talk about it in this video.